everyone, I hope you're all doing well. I realized that over the past few months of being in quarantine / self-isolation, because this diabetic isn't going anywhere, that I've been picking up little bits and bobs art supplies wise online to, essentially keep myself entertained. I've been really into doing and trying to work on more traditional art than normal, I guess you could say, even though that's what I should be doing. Essentially, I'm not getting distracted with costume and prop making as much, or I've just tried to balance my time out a lot better. And so I've been picking up little bits and bobs online, and I realized that it's gotten to the point where I could actually put together a decently, hopefully interesting art supplies haul. I know I personally really like watching art supplies hauls. It's really like the one way that you can see what is out there art material wise, and also find out why particular artists would maybe purchase those products to try out, or maybe it's a repurchase and that's obviously something they really like. Even though it seems like a surface level thing, it can actually be really informative. So without further ado, here is the collection of various art supplies bits and bobs that I have gotten recently. I guess we will start off with the two things that I've had the longest, although I actually haven't had a chance to talk about these in a video yet. These are 2 packs of ballpoint pens. Now I guess a quick story behind these. These are the ones that I originally really wanted to get. I ended up seeing all of these different artists that I follow using them. They are definitely a more unique looking pen. They do kind of look like ye old pencil without their cap on, and normally I'm not someone that pays that much attention to what materials artists are using unless it's something like super unique, but you know, I'm a big advocate of it is not the material that makes the work, it's the artist. But it got to the point of I kept on seeing so many people use these and I really loved the look of them that I decided to figure out what these were and where I could get them. And these particular ones are absolutely not made in North America. So I had to import those. They were not that expensive, but they did take quite a while to get here. But on my search to try and find these pens and where I could get them in Canada to some degree, I ended up finding these ones, which again also were not that expensive. And for all intents and purposes, these possibly are the North American version of these ones. Haven't had a great chance to test either of them out, but at any rate, these ones seem to be a fairly comparable product to these ones, and again, not that expensive, so I figured I would try these ones out as well. And you know, even if I prefer one over the other, not a big price gouge for them, and I do end up using ballpoint pens a lot in my work for sketching and just a lot of other things, so having 2 packs of them around was not going to be a big deal. A large portion of this haul is actually various sketchbooks. I just had the itch apparently to buy a bunch of different ones to try out. The first one that I got is this Moleskine sketchbook. Now I do have a few Moleskines that I really love the paper in them and the quality of them, and for some reason I was just feeling the softcover notebook. So I ended up finding these and I decided, you know, also love a good square sketchbook, and decided to get this one to try out. I'm pretty sure this feels very similar to the paper that is in the standard hardcover sketchbooks. It is that nice off-white color, which some people might not like. I really do. I think it gives a really interesting look to your sketches, just to have that slight tone to the paper. Something else that is really cool is that this softcover one, I don't know if you can see it, it actually has perforated edges, so you can easily remove the pages if you wanted to at any given point. According to this, it is 120 GSM 81 pound paper, so you're not going to want to do anything heavier than some ink work on this. Like, definitely do not go in with anything above like a fountain pen acrylic ink sort of situation, you know, no mixed media in this particular one. Also, along the lines of the softcover sketchbook, I got myself the tone gray and tone tanned sketchbook versions of this paper that I'm really obsessed with. I've been using this stuff for years, and I've always looked at getting the more bound sketchbook versions of it. I did used to use this all of the time for like more finished illustrations, I guess you could say, but then they started coming out with it in the mixed media version, which is significantly thicker. This is not super thin by any means, but the thicker version is just really, really nice, especially if you're going to be spending, you know, various hours on a nice finished illustration. It's just a nicer feeling finished look. But I do really like it to use this toned, the thinner stuff for sketching. So treated myself to the soft bound, it's like really nice soft touch too, sketchbook versions of the tan and the gray, because I do not really have a preference between either of them. I think with the right drawings on both of them, both of the colors look really awesome, so picked both of those up. And very similarly to the Moleskine, it is 80 pound, 118 GSM paper. And what do you know, even more sketchbooks. Now these ones, I wasn't actually sure if they were going to come in on time, but they came in the mail today. They are the Leuchtturm 1917 sketchbooks. This one, I believe, is the A4 plus version, and this one is the A5. At any rate, it's like the largest sketchbook that they make and the more medium one. There's also like a smaller pocket version. Yeah, I decided to get this one in a purple and this one in yellow. These are more comparable to the Moleskine side of things, but the super cool thing about them is that these sketchbooks come in more than just black, which I know might be like earth-shattering to some of you. You might be like, why is that a big deal? But for me, it's just nice to see a difference in color for once, so kind of went wild for the color. Normally I would have gone with blues, but they didn't have those in stock, so I decided to go a little wild with a yellow and a purple. And I'm actually going to open one of these, and these were something that I ended up seeing somebody's sketchbook tour, or a few people's sketchbook tours on YouTube had used them. And they ended up using them in like a mixed media sense, and I have not opened and felt one of these yet. Yeah, this paper is definitely, I mean, in theory it should be, it's like around the 180 GSM mark, but this does feel substantially thicker. Where's the Moleskine? This does feel like it would hold up better. Yeah, it definitely feels more substantial than this Moleskine sketch paper. I wouldn't necessarily want to use anything too crazy in this mixed media wise, like watercolor, whatever. I'm sure it would withstand a bit, like a watercolor wash, maybe some gouache paint, something that doesn't involve a lot of liquid, which is nice. I never like use markers barely, so not worried about that idea too much. But yeah, this paper feels really, really nice, and I'm really excited about trying these out because I've never actually tried one of the Leuchtturm sketchbooks before. Let me know if you'd like to see like a sketchbook showdown sort of video, because I definitely have a lot laying around my studio, and I probably could pull together a pretty hefty comparison video. Probably should have lumped this together with the ballpoint pens, but again, in somebody's, I should just stop watching. I don't actually watch that many art videos on YouTube, which is probably a good thing, because when I do, I end up buying a lot of art supplies. But this was, again, a purchase because of somebody's sketchbook tour video, I think. I don't know. You know, you watch one video on YouTube and all of a sudden you're like 3 hours deep in people's sketchbook tours. But it is a Lamy Safari, I believe. I will have all of this listed in the description box with the specific names for all of these products, because they are absolutely not labeled half of the time. But it is a Lamy, I believe, Safari. At any rate, it is a fountain pen that has ink cartridges in it. These come in a bunch of different colors. I decided to go wild and choose white for once. I don't know, I just, you know, pens and stuff are normally black or blue or whatever, so I decided to go for white for something clean. I'm sure I'm gonna regret it at some point when there's like ink and paint and stuff all over it, but for now it's looking really nice and pristine. But I just really love the line work that I saw someone using one of these with, and I wanted to try it out. It has really nice grooves in it for gripping. It is like, it's not too heavy, which is nice. And I believe I mentioned before, it does have ink cartridges. I have opened this. I haven't really tried it out yet, but I did put one of the ink cartridges in it because I also bought a bunch pack of the ink cartridges for it, which actually were not atrociously expensive, which is nice. The only fountain pen that I have right now, I have one of the like Doppler things where you can put in whatever ink you want, and the ink I have in it I do like, but it doesn't dry very fast and it ends up becoming a bit of an issue. This I did sort of scribble on some paper, and so far the ink dries super fast, which is really nice because I'm always paranoid about my other one and it's smudging all over the place. I haven't tried out the waterproofness of this particular ink, which I'm not sure if that's going to bother me or not, if it isn't really waterproof resistant-y. Probably, you know, my other stuff is, so if I was ever worried about the ink smudging or I wanted to use it for watercolors or something later, I would just use the other one and keep this one for more sketching type sort of situations. Also, I really like this box design. It's very interesting. It's nothing even particularly like, it's just a plain textured cardboard that has cutout designs, but it's just, I don't know, it's very visually and design appealing to me. Next are these bad boys. I know, I think quarantine is starting to get to my brain because I have apparently decided that buying stupidly expensive pencils is a good idea. And I'm not entirely sure how I got to this point. I mean, the other ones, it's like, oh yeah, YouTube video, whatever. These, not too sure about. But they are obviously the Palomino Blackwing 602 ones, which I know are not necessarily the ones that you see a lot of people using. These ones are actually the ones with the firmest lead, and actually the original ones, if my research serves correct. They are the ones with the gray barrels and of course have the infamous flat eraser on the end. Box of 12. We're not going to talk about how much this was in Canadian dollars, but I am very excited to try these out and will most likely make a video on them. I think it came down to that normally for sketching and like watercolor stuff and things I use these Tombow Mono 2H pencils, which I do really like, but sometimes I feel like they're almost too light and I end up sort of like gouging it into the paper a lot, which isn't great, and so I decided to sort of look at what my other pencil options could be. I know I was looking at possibly softer leads than this one for sketching and stuff, and at some point I ended up on these ones, which go big or go home, I don't know. But these have always interested me and I am super excited to try them out and use them a lot more and sort of form an opinion as to whether I think they're actually worth their hefty price tag or not. Next two things are pretty random. This is just a pack of metal rulers, which I don't even know if I should be including in this. I guess they are somewhat art related, but I really ended up needing this middle one here. There's three of them. There's a 6-inch, 8-inch, and 12-inch. Yes, 12-inch. And really I was just on a hunt for an 8-inch ruler because all of the time I end up just 6 inches too short and 12 inches just seems too long. So went on the hunt for an 8-inch ruler and ended up finding this kit. And I mean, extra rulers are hardly the worst thing to have around one's studio. Of course, after I ordered these, I realized I probably could have just printed something, but you know, actual metal rulers around the studio is hardly a bad thing. This thing is technically not an art supply, but I have a feeling I'm going to use it as a pencil case, and it is one of these geo-holographic bag things. I'm sure you've probably seen these. This is like, I'm surprised my studio lights are not making this look crazy, but I'm sure you've probably seen these. They generally have like various Instagram ads and stuff of this like luminous, I don't even know what they call this, like this shiny material with the panels and stuff. Here, let me turn my phone flashlight on. Is that gonna do it? No. I'll take some footage of this in like sunlight so you can actually see the colors, but basically in sunlight this looks like crazy colors. Right now I know you can kind of see it transform a little, but I've always, like, not even just for the color aspect, I've always been really obsessed with the design of these because of the like geometric patterns and stuff, and this just ended up popping up on my like Amazon recommendations or whatever, so I decided to get one for pencil case purposes because I'm not a purse person. So I think this is normally supposed to be a makeup bag, but again, it's going to be perfect. Where's a pencil? See, perfect pencil and various other thing size. And yeah, I've always been really obsessed with it. It reminds me of Lady Gaga's like geometric phase with all her really cool costume designs. I mean, I'm into geometric stuff anyway, but that's generally what it reminds me of. Almost forgot these things. First thing is I got a small tube of Daniel Smith's Carbazole Violet is what I'm gonna guess this color name, how to pronounce this color name. This was actually one of the colors that I always kind of regretted not adding to my dream custom palette that I made a few months ago right away, and I realized I could get it in a small tube, which is of course cheaper, so I decided to get it because I plan on using this specifically for something, and I don't actually have a lot of the Winsor Newton color that I have that is somewhat similar to this, so it was kind of either, you know, buy another tube of that or try this out. So grab this one to try out as a little bit of a change. And then the actual last thing, unless something shows up that I've completely forgotten about, is this Morpho anatomy book. Now, this is something I saw a few artists talking about the Morpho books on Twitter and saying like how amazing they were, and they make a bunch of really interesting sounding ones. This one is the significantly thicker one. A lot of them are actually fairly inexpensive and they focus more on specific topics. I know there's a hand and feet one, there's like a fat and skin folds, which is very interesting, and this one is sort of the more generalized, a little bit of everything type of one, and I wanted to try this one out first, and then see later if I want to pick up one or some of the other ones, because like I said, they are very interesting sounding, but I wasn't entirely sure which one of the specific topics I might have wanted, so started with the generalized one. And this one is particularly interesting, I think, because a lot of anatomy books end up being like the DK one that I recommend a lot. It's photos of actual people, and sometimes I think it's almost more helpful if they are drawings to begin with. You can see how somebody breaks down the different shapes of the different body parts and just their sketch lines here, and it's just, I think it might almost be more helpful of it starting off as a drawing, or at least a really awesome addition to have, that you have, you know, the references of the actual photos of people and then also how you could possibly break that down to actually draw. And yeah, like I said, this one is like a generalized one of a bunch of different things. So you have like a bone structure, muscles, there's one all of feet, which is really awesome. I know there's an entire book that it's just hands and feet that I might end up picking up at some point. Yeah, I'm super excited to actually thoroughly look through this book and try and learn as much as I absolutely can from it. And those are all of the art supplies that I've picked up recently. Let me know if you'd like to see a video on any of these specific supplies, but thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.